So check this out, you guys. I know you guys are familiar with people that hunt predators on YouTube and then confront them and then report these interactions and these exchanges between them and alleged or decoy minors to the police. You'll see that in a lot of jurisdictions, these people that do this are treated very, I'd say disgustingly. The sheriffs or the police in these locations will always say that this is an entrapment issue, or there's a policy issue, or there's a legal issue, and they just can't take these cases because these people aren't, qualified to be able to do this work. And I would argue this: these people can do the work a lot better because they do not have any of these crazy requirements, and these cases without these requirements can still be prosecuted effectively based on the evidence, simply as it is. So I would argue it's even more effective for private citizens to be able to do this work because there's not a bunch of legal loopholes that they have to jump through, and there's a lot less legal defenses for a defendant accused of these things in trial. Entrapment that is argued against these vigilantes who do this type of work is one of the things that these police officers use to confront the validity of the work these predator poachers do. But entrapment is only a legal defense for a defendant to be presented to the jury at trial. It has nothing to do with a private citizen. It's all to do with the government. And I would argue that the government being able to do this poaching work, they would have a bigger chance of it failing on them because of entrapment defenses and other defenses and policy issues and stuff like that. But a private citizen does not have to jump through all those hoops at all. So, in fact, a private citizen would be able to do a more effective job at ridding our society of these dangerous people that want to prey on, children. But to get to the point, which one of my points is this: we don't need police to do the work that's required for us to be able to protect our own communities that we live in. So, if the private citizens can do the same job as the police, the question becomes, why do we need the police? And we've already had Supreme Court cases that say the police department does not have any responsibility to protect you whenever you're in danger. There's women that have gotten restraining orders on men and tried to get emergency concealed carry licenses that haven't went through in time, and they end up losing their lives. These cases go to trial because, people allege that the government helped cause this, and the Supreme Court has ruled that there's no responsibility of the police department to protect you. That's your job. But we live in a culture where, people don't want to carry guns because, that's what the police are for. Well, there's this culture of thinking the opposite of what the truth and the facts say. There's a culture of thinking that, let the police handle it. That just simply isn't true. We are the ones that are in charge of policing our own communities. This is wholly our job. And, whenever people start doing a better job than the police, and police have to come out there and answer to these allegations, they feel superior. Whenever they pull you over on a traffic stop, they want to feel superior. They want to bear the weight and the necklace of the government's power and wield that on you and treat you like the one out. This is how they operate. And I'm sure that you understand this. If you're here in my channel, I'm sure that you can see some validity to what I'm saying. And once we start asking ourselves these questions about what is the use of police, whenever we can really kind of police our own communities even better than them, and then you start to see these court cases and rulings where the police have no responsibility to protect you. And, then you start to come to the conclusion that the police are only there to enforce the dictates of the government, and they're there to enforce the will of politicians that are literally writing laws into effect that violate our constitutional rights and will not be, unenforced. These police will enforce these laws until a citizen with the intelligence and knowledge of their constitution is who drums up enough courage to challenge these laws, because we live in a society where most citizens fall under the authority of anybody who has any superiority to them. For instance, if you go talk to a doctor, you better not, advocate for yourself too much, because it's so easy for these people of superiority to just write you off like you're a nobody and you're harping on them. You're just one of those bad clients that they get every here and there. If a cop pulls you over, you're just one of those, bad citizens that wants to act like they got a law degree. And, getting to that point where these officers will tell you, well, hey, where did you get your law degree from? Are you a lawyer? They use this to try to undermine the accuracy and the validity of what you're saying, to make you look like you're not, you don't know your rights. But the thing about a free country is your rights are not supposed to be so complex that you need to go get a 5 or 6 year law degree to be able to have human rights. Our country was put into place with rights that the layman could understand and be able to know when they were being violated. And that's another thing in our country. This stuff is so complex and people are so undermined in our culture that they don't even really know when or where the line is with their rights being violated. So they kind of just do what they're told and hope that their lawyer figures it out. Well, let me tell you about a case in my city where I'm from. There was a man that was a pastor here, and he was an old friend of mine. We had a lot of bad blood, but we've since then got over it. We was kids back then, but nonetheless, he had a child that was under his supervision at church, riding on the side of a van, and eventually there was other kids riding on the side of the van in the parking lot too. Eventually there was a pothole coming that the other children seen, so they jumped off safely, and this other kid didn't see it coming, and he stayed on there. And whenever he hit the pothole, the pastor, this kid fell off and smashed his head so hard that he did lose his life. Well, he fought this case for about 1 year or so, facing involuntary manslaughter charges, F3, and another charge of a minor misdemeanor for a traffic violation. Well, he goes to trial and he gets convicted with one of the best lawyers in our city. It's who I would have went with if I didn't get a public defender for my self-defense case, use of force case. And I even spoke to this lawyer after my acquittal. He actually stepped into the courtroom to watch the verdict of my trial. Well, this pastor goes to court and he gets convicted of these charges at trial. Well, the case had to get thrown out after the conviction because there was a defect in the indictment. You cannot tie a involuntary manslaughter charge to a minor misdemeanor, which was what the indictment read. This is a defect in the indictment, and it means that the conviction is unenforceable and it would be overruled on appeal. So the lower court just did what they should have did and recognized that this is a defect in the indictment, and this conviction is void. It's totally void. No other reason, not based on the facts, not based on objectivity. There's literally no other reason for the conviction to be reversed other than the fact that the prosecutor's office made a defect in the charging instrument. So this lawyer is the best in our city, has many self-defense cases and murder trials that he gets people acquitted on. And he didn't even see that there was a defect in the indictment. He took the case to trial and got a conviction for his client on the merits of the case. It was not until later another attorney checked and seen the defect in the indictment, and then the conviction was voided. So you cannot trust these attorneys. Please listen to me. If you listen to my case, and I'll talk more about it in the future, my trial is an absolute mess, what they did to me. I'm going to expose more of that here in the future. I'm sure you guys will be tuned in for that. But these cops, getting back to my point, will tell you, oh, what are you, a lawyer? Where'd you get your law degree from? To try to undermine you standing up for your rights. But, at the same time, if they pull you over for something stupid like driving in the left lane of the highway whenever that's only a passing lane, and they know many people don't know that, and it's kind of a stupid law. But they will pull you over for it if they want to have a pretextual reason to stop your car and start sniffing you, start asking you questions, start making you move how they want you to move, do what they want you to do, answer the questions they want you to answer. And, you know, they will tell you, well, hey, ignorance of the law is no excuse, buddy. Hop on out of the car and let me put you in more danger because we're here for your safety to protect and serve. So let me get you out of your car on the highway and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So the culture in our country is one of increasing slavery, and our kids are going to inherit a country where, you know, we lost the principle where our rights are so understood by the layman that if they get come up onto by a police officer, they know right where the line is in legality and in violation of their inherent God-given rights. But today we are not aware of that. We are not aware of this, and we are in so much danger, and we are inheriting this to our children. We live in a place where superpowers across the world and governments are controlled and ran by pedophiles. Okay? I don't know if I'm going to get blocked on here for even speaking these words, but guys, it's the truth. And our words and our voice is increasingly becoming more muted. They are literally muting our voice. Look at the new Grand Theft Auto 6 game coming out. There is no disc. It is all code that you buy a disc box, you know, a case that a disc comes in, and it's just a written code in there that you can type in and you can have access to the game, downloaded through your PlayStation's network to the internet. Well, guess what? Everything is starting to be like this. Even Mercedes-Benz's cars. You have to pay a subscription fee to be able to use the full horsepower of the engine that you paid for. This stuff is becoming increasingly more severe to limit our autonomy. And, you know, all this is for, guys, is one reason. In the future, very horrible things are going to happen to us and our families. People are going to be getting hauled off and maybe never come home again. Maybe they will get put in prison because of suspected terrorism. You know what I mean? Can't say that word. But if you get called that word, you no longer have no rights, no human rights to a warrant, to a trial, to a jury. Indefinite imprisonment is what you will get. Look it up. It was under the Obama administration. They signed that into effect. They are preparing us for something horrible. Okay, I want you to know that. And while we are divided, there isn't a mess going on in the country right now, guys. I mean, politically, you might think that we're going through a mess, but this is 100% strategically organized, and it is perfectly being played out. It might look like a mess, but it is 100% orchestrated and coordinated, and it's being mapped out psychologically perfectly. So back to this subscription and, you know, this Grand Theft Auto 6 game with the code, no more disc. The whole goal is this: if you speak out in the future for the horrible things that are getting ready to be perpetrated on us, they will just delete you from life. They will absolutely delete you digitally from life, and then it will be physically. So that's my message for today, you guys. The culture of our country is one of slavery, and we are going to have to become aware of this, and we are going to have to develop a voice that, you know, does not silence itself and speaks for the truth, for the sake of the truth alone and not the outcome. Because speaking the truth could get you a very bad outcome, and if you're not ready for that very bad outcome, then you're not ready to speak. You're not prepared for the consequences of the truth. And the defense of the truth in the future is it's going to get people put in some situations for sure. So you're going to have to develop the ability to stand and defend the truth without being attached to the outcome of it. So if you guys stuck around to the end of my message, I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a very good day. Enjoy your day. Enjoy the breath that you've been privileged with. Enjoy the illusion that we live in. Our eyes are deceiving us daily, and what we see is not really there the way we see it to be. So know that you're in an illusion, but still enjoy every day of it, because it's a dream. And when you wake up that you're in a dream, you get to control your dream. So I'll see you guys soon.